Yes, we have just started an outreach program to reach out to all Kenyans wherever they are, because I just announced my presidential campaign not long ago. But our group is actually trying to reach out to the diaspora. We are not knocking at all doors. I have a friend of mine who was introduced to me recently in the city. His name is Robinson Gicheru, and he's actually one of the people who have, who I believe is in that particular movement. Yes, we've reached out and we are knocking doors, and we intend to reach to them as time goes by, because we have the facilities now that I'm negotiating with. We have a radio station here, we have a television station, and we have also TV and radio online in my offices here. So I'll use these facilities to reach out, and I have a group of Kenyans who are very close to me. We have Mr. Ngunjiri Tirima, we have Isaac Mburu, and I have other group of people that have come out, Wamejitolea. They have come out to support their own brother, regardless of the tribe. So we are reaching out, and sooner or later, we shall reach out within the media and the internet system. So we are working on that at the moment.
Okay. You currently have a very great and successful career in the U.S. What makes you feel obligated or entitled to take up this huge responsibility?
Yes, the umbilical cord and the placenta of my father was buried in Kenya. The umbilical cord of my grandparents and ancestors and the rest of the Kenyans who actually jumped on the plane to come in the United States is buried in Kenya. Kenya is in my stomach. Kenya is in my head. Kenya is in my heart. I sing Kenya every day, the way I impress God and Jesus Christ. Whatever I do, whatever I've worked hard for, and whatever I entail right now, will not actually be of any benefit if I have to live by it. After all, I am a successful person in terms of education, in terms of business and what have you. I need to take that expertise back home, and I also need Kenyans in the diaspora to know that they have their own fellow Kenyans who is going to organize for them to come back home, give them incentives, help them to repay some of the loans they have without actually damaging their families or dissociating their families, that we can come, that we can build the country as a unit. Because currently, and I will digress a bit from the question that you asked me, we have so much manpower. Kenya has got the largest number of students in the United States. If you go to Harvard University, you'll get people like Professor Juma. Obama's father was there in the early 60s, and Jane Kiano and Gikonyo Kiano. If we go to universities of Alabama and what have you, we get Kenyan dorms. If you go to City University of New York, Buffalo Law School, we get people like Professor Makau. All these people are brain boxes that we need to take to our country so that we can give them incentives and make them stay on contracts so that they can build our country. Today, if I stay out as Professor Wajackoyah teaching in a university, and our universities in the country need our brain, the constitution mechanism in our country needs our brains to look at. Why would you wait for some people to come and do this for us, yet we have a duty and obligation to our national flag, while we can do this for our country with love, hope, and justice? Secondly, why there is a lot of fear on the diaspora. The political system in the Kenya do not like anybody from the diaspora to say anything. All they need to do is, during elections, they run here to come and solicit for funds. When they disagree there after increasing their salaries, particularly members of parliament, and one resigns from parliament, he or she runs here to come and seek the diaspora support and cry tears, crocodile tears for us here. It's now time for the diaspora to think that they have a duty for their country. They have brothers and sisters in that country. They have the mandate to come and constitute that country into a proper place so that we can go on the world map. We can have our games, our sports people shine up there. We can have our infrastructure shine up there. We can have the diaspora across the world being proud of their own country, rather than seeing political images being broadcasted for us here, and then we sit down, and because we have adapted the American system or the British system, we say, that's just Kenya. Things in Kenya should be left for somebody. I have a responsibility, even if it means going back to the streets where I stayed before, where I was brought up before. I am ready to go back and rent a room in Madare Valley and share my intellect with my people so that we can work as a group. We can have room for the diaspora to be proud of their country so that they can come and join instead of coming as tourists. They can come and join us to build our country. Enough is enough. The whole political system of this coming here to misuse us is a foregone conclusion. And I'm requesting all brothers and sisters in the diaspora to think twice before they make mistakes that have been made before. Susan, you're very brilliant. I can hear you asking me very sensitive questions. So it's Slyvester. What are you doing here? You need to be in Kenya to run the mass media, to contribute to the mass media. Why would you wait for expatriates to come and take over jobs and be paid too much money?
The reason why we haven't been able to do that is because of the changes that we need there before we can even actually pick up our stuff and go there and believe in our heads that that is the greener pastures. That's why we're doing what we're doing right now. We need to have someone who can help us make that change. Slyvester.
On this reverse role, now that you asked a question instead of me asking, let me just tell you something. The road in Kenya is probably more extensive than any of us can master individually. Because, for example, now, if you are to go to Kenya to try and apply for a broadcasting license for radio or TV, or even an internet service provider license, you might wait for 3, 5 years, 6 years, but nothing will be forthcoming. So anyway, that's just a by the side. And those are the other problems, because if people want to be entrepreneurial, I believe a good system should let them. We take our concern seriously, and we are hoping East Africa in Focus will probably have something there in due course, other than the internet-based. But problem is licensing and all those other bureaucracies. And my fear is a lot of us have quite good ideas. We have Kenya at heart. We have the downtrodden at heart. But the moment people ascend to power, all this seems to be washed away by the bubble that comes with power. So you as an individual, having had an experience or a very close brush with the rough and tumble that everybody goes through, do you think this experience has built in you sufficient mechanism to ensure that once you get to that position, then the bubble will not block from the cries of the rest of us?
Yes, Slyvester, that's a very brilliant way of looking at things, and that's a very good question, though very difficult to answer, but this is how I look at it. First and foremost, we live in a free country. We know the constitution of this country, and we know how the courts look at the constitution. If you mess up with the fundamental rights and freedoms in this country, the standards of scrutiny by the U.S. courts is strict scrutiny. That means the courts are so jealous that if somebody else, or particularly government or government agent, messes up with the United States Constitution or breaches the rights of the people of the United States, then they have to show that they have a legitimate government interest, compelling interest, for the courts even to listen to them. If we have that kind of constitution in Kenya, and you have revolved judiciary in terms of judicial activism, where the judge will become the eye of the people to look at the constitution and to look at the violations of that constitution, particularly if the government or the agents of the state violate that constitution, then we shall be saying, oh my goodness, this is a point of departure. The judges are willing to hear our case. If we look at India, for example, why is India so much overpopulated like China? Yet they have got the best economy in the world. Yet they have got the best legal system in the world. It is because the constitution of India is very clear. Article 1 of the constitution of India states very categorically that India belongs to the people of India. An Indian citizen has a right to free air, clean water, clean environment. So if anybody violates those rights, any person other than the person whose rights have been violated can go to court either by letter, by telephone, or even drive there and tell the judge, wait, our constitution is being abused, and here are the abusers.